Welcome to On the Record with Big Nick. Today's topics are...
We got the NBA, we got the late starts, LeBron, Kawhi, and sports and how they've had an impact on your life.
Okay.
From like a fan standpoint and a player standpoint. Let's start with LeBron.
Who? Never heard of him.
Do you think that he should be starting late? Or
Should be. Why is he any different than any other player in the league? He should start with everybody else.
Yeah.
Last time I checked, you get paid to fucking play. Play.
Mm-hmm. And what about Kawhi?
Same. Is it what? Was he bitching too?
I think it was just that he was going to start later too.
I mean, I don't get this. If you start later, that you should forfeit your salary. Like, why do you have that's like going into Lumberland and saying, I'm not going to start because I'm too tired.
Yeah.
I'm going to come in later. So if you're supposed to be here at, 7 o'clock.
Yep.
And you come in at 10 because you fucking say I'm too tired, what the fuck is that?
No, I agree. And I think it's like certain people are getting like special treatment over others.
Yeah. The guy you mentioned is the overall gets treated better than everybody else in the fucking league, LeBron. Last time I checked, he puts gym shorts on, right?
Yeah.
Just like everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Last time I checked, he puts sneakers on like everybody else, right? Dribbles the ball like everybody else, right?
Exactly.
Plays basketball, right?
Yep.
Maybe he's better than some of these other players, but like last time I checked, he dribbles.
Everyone does the same.
Everyone does the same shit, right? He fucking pisses, he fucking shits, he fucking does all that shit, right? So why are you different?
Yeah, it's kind of like what we were talking about with like the whole like role model thing.
Fuck LeBron being a role model.
Yeah.
Pays for all those fucking schools. All right, fucking fantastic. When you're worth $1 billion, you can do that shit.
All right, cool. Sports. Let's talk a little bit. I feel like let's first talk about like as like a player, what sports was like growing up for you. Did you only play baseball or like what was it like?
When I was younger, like way younger, like when I was like 5, 6, 7, 8,
yeah,
I played both baseball and soccer.
Mm-hmm.
I was the goalie in soccer. And to be honest with you, I used to catch. I used to be a catcher when I first started playing baseball. I was a catcher.
Wow.
Yeah. That didn't last long. I don't know how it got started, but I was hanging out with some friends and they needed a goalie.
Yeah.
And I said, all right, I'll play goalie. Like, I've never played it before, but I'll play goalie. I was actually pretty good at it.
Mm-hmm.
So they put me in the net. So they're like, all right, we're going to tell your coach that, like, you're a nasty goalie. And I'm like, no, please don't do that. Like, I'd rather, like, run around on the field and, shoot the ball. I don't want to sit in the net all game.
Yeah.
So they ended up telling the coach anyway. And like, all right, well, you're going to go buy gloves and all this shit, and you're going to play goalie. And I'm like, great. So I ended up playing goalie. I stopped playing soccer when I was like 10 or 11. That's what this didn't last long.
You weren't into it?
Nah, I fell out of interest.
Why do you think you fell out of interest? Was you just boring, you sitting in the net all the time?
I think a lot of it had to do with me sitting in the net the whole game and just standing there the whole time and seeing everything going on. And I just loved baseball more.
Yeah.
I was like 9 or 10. I really started to like train. So like I made a kind of a choice at a younger age to like focus on, all right, if I'm playing in the season, I play in the season.
Yeah. But
in the off season, I'm just going to focus on my craft.
What would you say? What was your draw to baseball as opposed to soccer?
Baseball runs in the family. Like
Okay.
my dad played. My dad's a big time coach. You know that.
Yeah.
My brothers played.
Mm.
Past tense. I played. To be honest with you, I wasn't that good of a player when I was younger. Like it took me until I was like 12 or 13 to really start to figure it out. And I remember like I was struggling so bad when I was in Little League that I just told myself one summer that I'm going to work on it. And I did. And AJ worked with me every single day. We went to the field, we hit, we did technique work, we did all this stuff. And I told myself, I said, I'm going to fix this swing. If I'm not going to fix it this year, next spring, I'm going to be a totally different hitter. So I went from being the kid that struck out in a lot of games to the kid that hit fucking bombs in games.
When was this?
When I was 13.
Okay.
Might have also helped that I was 5'11", 185 pounds at 13 years old.
Holy shit.
So I was a big boy at 13. With a swing, it takes like 2,000 or 3,000 reps to master that.
Mm.
So AJ worked with me every single day.
Yeah.
And we did T-work, we did one-hand drills, pretty much anything, like soft toss. Vinny would come with us too, don't get me wrong, but like AJ and I would be the ones that mostly went to the field. I'd hit him ground balls, he'd hit me fly balls, because I went from being a catcher to an outfield, because I knew I wasn't going to be a catcher. I wasn't a good catcher.
Yeah.
I was a good enough catcher for Little League, but if I wanted to play at the next level, it wasn't going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So I converted to the outfield. When I was 12, 13, 14 years old, I could run like the wind. I would race anybody.
Mm-hmm.
I beat kids on our high school varsity team. I beat kids in the gym. And the biggest competitor that I had was AJ. AJ and I used to run wallbacks. I'm not going to call them suicides. I'm going to call them wallbacks.
Okay.
Run, you know what those are. You run to the wall, run back.
Yeah.
So, AJ and I used to run and run and run and run. Sometimes he'd beat me, sometimes I'd beat him. But, like, we brought the best out of each other when we ran against each other. Like, don't get me wrong, everybody I wanted to face, I wanted to beat. And for the most part, I did. There were a couple times I lost. And I say that with pride, not with arrogance at all.
Yeah.
But I wanted to face the fast guys. Like, there was guys that were 5 or 6 years older than me. I wanted to face you. I still remember the fastest kid that was on our varsity team. I was in 7th grade. And I said, I want to face you. He trained at the same facility I trained at. And I said, I want to face you. And everyone's like, he's going to smoke you. I go, no, he's not.
Let's go.
I fucking beat his ass. And everybody shut the fuck up after that.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, like I said, I didn't win every race by any means.
Yeah.
But before I popped my hammy good, I could fucking run.
So it's more like a competitive thing for you?
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been competitive all my life.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, you don't know my dad that well. You know him, but you don't know him. My dad is like, Dad's competitive with everything in his life. Like, he's competitive with himself. He's competitive with work. He's competitive on the field. I mean, you won't find a more competitive person on a baseball field.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he will say, no coach will ever outsmart me on the field. It won't happen. You might have more knowledge. You might have what he goes, you're not going to outsmart me and you're not going to outwork me. So I think that mindset carried into us as young kids.
Yeah.
And, AJ worked extremely hard at what he wanted to do. Vinny did, and so did I. I worked on my swing. I fucking worked on my speed. I worked on my strength. I was a freaking monster at 13. 13 years old, I was a monster.
What was that, like, switch like that? Were you just seeing, like, other people that were...
I was seeing other people having... I don't want to call it fun, because I still had fun playing, but obviously, if you're not doing well in a sport, it's not going to be as fun, right?
Yeah.
So I said to myself, I'm going to work on this. So I took it as a personal challenge, and I said, I'm going to fucking do this, and I did. I remember putting my first ball over the fence at 13, and it was like, okay, like, you're here now. I was smashing the ball at 13, I smashed it at 14, and then I played on 14s. I went to tried to work trial for a couple of AAU teams. And so there was this one team. We'll remain nameless,
okay?
Because I have some bad taste with this particular organization. But we'll keep it out for this one.
Okay.
I tried out for the team because when I was 13, I had a really good year. I played for an AAU team. Did town ball, all that bullshit. And then I said, I want to play somewhere that's like really competitive, like really competitive. I'm not saying that the team I didn't play for at 13 wasn't competitive, but I wanted to play for a team that they played the best of the best.
Mm-hmm.
Not just in the States. I wanted to travel and go to fucking Disney World, the wide world of sports down there, and I wanted to compete. So I remember trying out for this one particular team, and they had 2 teams. They had an A team and a B team. I was the last cut for the A team. The guy called me up and he said, "We really like you, but you can't." He goes, "If you come on the A team, you're going to play very little. Only if people get hurt." And I said, "I want to get put on the B team. I want to play, and I'm going to prove to you that you made a fucking mistake." So he put me on the B team. And he goes, "I hope you put me." He goes, "I hope that you prove me wrong." And I go, "I fucking will." The B team was still very good.
Yeah.
They had one kid from Georgia coming up at the time. I was trying to recruit somebody that I played with in town to play there. We had some good players there. I told that coach, I said, "I'm going to tell you this out of all respect. You made the wrong decision, and I'm going to prove it to you this summer." And he goes, "I hope you do." So I trained that whole spring and summer. Trained that whole winter. And I just had one thing in mind, was to prove him wrong. It was the only thing that was on my mind. 4 or 5 weeks before the season starts, I blew up my hamstring. And I was fucking devastated. And I called up the coach. And at the time, I thought, okay, maybe it's just a pulled hamstring. Maybe I'll only be out for a couple of weeks. Still had 5 or 6 weeks before the season started. I was like, okay, I should be fine by the season. I wasn't getting better. I went to PT. I got a couple of people to look at it. And then I went to a couple of different therapists. I wanted to get different opinions.
Yeah.
And then I went to this one particular therapist. And he said, "You have no shot in hell of playing this year. Your hamstring is torn." They said, "You're not playing this summer. You can't play this summer." They go, you might need surgery on your leg. Called up my B team coach. And I told him, I said, I'm sorry to tell you this, but I can't play this year. They tell me I got a torn hamstring, I might need surgery. And I remember once I told him that, he hung up the phone on me. I was no good to him anymore. So I remember calling up the A-team coach, and I told the B-team coach, and I told the A-team coach, because the A-team coach ran the program. I said, I got hurt really bad. I can't play. And he goes, I'm sorry to hear that. He met me somewhere to give me my unit. Like, he was still going to give me all my shit because I already paid for it.
Yeah.
And I remember him handing me over the plane ticket that I was supposed to go on to go to Florida, because I could use it as like a voucher, like something else. And I remember him handing that to me. And we were supposed to go to Disney for 2 weeks to play. I was so pissed. Because not only that, but like there were a lot of good players on that team, but there was a lot of good friends on that team. I got to know the guys really well throughout the off season. We trained once a week. I'd make the hour ride to Mansfield. We'd train every Sunday. Once I got hurt, nobody reached out saying how I was doing. So I've always had an edge to me ever since then. Kind of looking back at it now, is it upsetting that it happened? But in a way, I definitely learned a few things from that experience. And the things that I learned is that there's a lot of phony people in this world. Everything's great when things are going smooth, but when things suck, people flock. So I told myself I never would be that person. If things are bad, I'm going in head first. Because it doesn't matter how good things are. That's easy. It's when things are tough. If workouts were easy, everybody would work out. We wouldn't be the most obese country in the world. Mm-hmm. The reason why we're obese is because it's easy to be obese. And I'm not making fun of obese people by any means. Being fat, being lazy, sitting on the couch, eating chips, easy. How about fruit, vegetables, watching what you eat, going to the gym, go for a run, lift weights. It's hard. After that, I played through high school. I was never the same player once that injury happened. Like, I never ran the same. Mm-hmm. I know it didn't heal right because I can still feel it inside my hamstring that it didn't feel right. Because I know it didn't heal right because I remember I rehabbed that whole year. It took me a year. It took me about 8 months to recover. And then I was healthy. I worked out again. And then my first baseball game in my freshman year. First game. Hit a ground ball in the infield. I was running it out. Leg gave out halfway down the line. I missed that whole season too. I got to play in the summer a little bit because luckily it wasn't as bad. But I told myself, I said, I'm playing something this year. I'm playing something. And I remember after playing my first game in almost 2 years, I just looked up in the sky and I just said, thank you for letting me play a game. Like, you really don't understand how precious it is to play until it's gone. I never took shit for granted again. And I tell my kids all the time that I coach, you never fucking know when it's your last game. It's hard for kids to see it that way because they just think, oh, I'm 14, I've got years to play. Because I know that when I was 14, I was never the same player again.
That's crazy.
Don't get me wrong, I had good years in high school, but I know I could have been better. And I'm not going to solely blame it on my leg, but it definitely had an impact as far as my speed and my way that I used to play the outfield and stuff.
Yeah.
Steal bases and do this and that. And there was times that I was scared to go 100% because I was scared I was just going to let go again. Like, even like when people are like, oh, let's go like run. Like when you said like do the 40s, like I'm scared to run a 40. Even though I understand you're trying to do a game, but like I'm afraid if I do it, I'll blow it out. Long story short, I played through high school. But as I played through high school, now I'm going to get to your other point, like how has it affected me after my playing days? Yeah. When I was in high school, I helped my dad coach this team. It was a 12-year-old team. They were called the Eastern Mass All-Stars. And I helped him coach it. So if I wasn't playing, I would help. If I had a game, then obviously I'd miss. But I would help him coach this team. And I helped him coach it for many years. I remember like my senior year, like I knew I was done. I didn't have that great of a senior year. I wasn't going to college. So I said, I'm just going to play out this year out. And that's it. And that's when something else triggered inside of me. It was time to put the cleats away, and it was time to pull out the coaching shoes. That season was over. I coached with Dad with that team, and I did it up until 2018. And I still coach with him now with NEB. And I've been doing that with him for, 7, 8, 9 years now? Something like that. So I would always coach something with Dad. NEB, Eastern Mass, something. So I enjoy doing that. I gave up the Mass part because I got too much going on. Like I got a girlfriend. I want to spend time with her. Obviously, I got a lot of work. I want to travel, go places, and I just want more time to myself. And it's not that I don't enjoy coaching. That's got nothing to do with it. But now I'm like at the point in my life that now it's time for me to go explore and do different things. So that's why I put the EMAS to the side, and I helped out with the NEB stuff just because it gives me a chance to see him more. That's kind of the only reason why I do it. The game has always been in my life, baseball. Like I just talked to you about, obviously, we talked about my playing days, and then now I'm talking about how it's affected me off the field. So technically I'm off the field because I'm not playing in the game, but I've always been on that field. If that makes sense.
When you were in your playing days, it was mainly the competitive side of you that was driving the game rather than the love of baseball?
Not necessarily. I definitely loved the game. I mean, here's the thing. If you don't love something, you're not going to do well at it.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, no offense. If I didn't love the game, I would never put in that time. It wasn't like, oh, I'm doing this because of something. At the end of the day, you got to do stuff for yourself. But you also got to remember, like, you think about these other things, too.
Yeah.
Like, you think about the people that tell you can't hit. You think about the things that, like, and it just makes you want it more, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It would be like, to me, Casey, saying to you, you don't know how to video edit, right? Let's say you're just getting started and you're working at it and stuff.
Yeah.
And I say, Casey, you're not that good of a video editor. Now, you might love it, right? Because obviously that's what you're doing, right? But let me ask you this. If I told you over and over again, your stuff sucks, you're not that good at this, figure something else out what to do, what would you do? Would you be upset in a way that, like, fuck you, I'm going to figure out how to make this better and just stick it to you? Or would you just take my criticism and say, you know what, maybe he's right. Maybe I suck at this.
Yeah, definitely use it as motivation.
My point exactly. My point exactly.
I guess what's the difference now with your relationship?
I would say the difference now, it's different. Because now it's about me loving the game, but it's also me loving helping the kids.
Yeah.
Now it's about impacts in life, which is beyond what happens on a baseball field, right? So it changes. Like when you play, it's about competitiveness and love for a game. But when you get older and you stop playing and you want to still be involved, it's because you love it. But then if you want to help out kids, like I was saying, that's about an impact. That's about having an impact in a kid's life.
And what about, like, as like a fan?
It's entertainment, right?
Yeah.
It's why we watch sports or operas or whatever we're interested in, right?
Yeah.
It's different.
Yeah.
There's no doubt that watching football is more entertaining than baseball. There's no discussion there. But I could watch a Red Sox game 1 through 9 innings. I mean, I could watch any game 1 through 9.
Yeah.
You know, like my goal in life is to go to every single major league park all over the country. Right now I'm 3 for 30. I got a long way to go.
Yeah.
I got a long way to go.
Yeah.
But I'll get there. I guess all in all, like, I always want to make sure that piece of me is always with me.
Yeah.
So even when my days of officially coaching are done, me watching the game is me staying with something that's always been with me my whole life. Well, we hope you enjoyed this on the record episode with Big Nick. Big Nick got a little deep with that. If any of y'all have any questions about, anything that was going on in this episode that you don't understand, just put in the comments a question, and I'll make sure I get back to you. And we hope you enjoy this episode. And for those that are out there, never take anything for granted when you play. If you still play, you never know when it's gone. So you treat every game like it's your last game. You can sit there and say, I got a 60-game AAU season and all that bullshit. You never know when it's over. You have no idea. Not saying it will be, but it could be last. Enjoy it. Thank you.